Labour drafts options for wealth taxes to unlock funds for public service. We're going to read into this more from an exclusive from The Guardian, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an exclusive from The Guardian with the headline that Labour drafts options for wealth taxes to unlock funds for public service. The exclusive reveals that sources say change to inheritance tax and capital gains tax are being discussed. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share this across social media so others are notified of this video. So one of my biggest criticisms have been of the Labour Party, among many things, has been their reluctance to tax the wealth or some ways. So it seems like they are going to tax them in sorts of different taxes here, and this is probably one of their ways that they are going to do this. Now, I just want to share this comparison to one of the things that the Green Party's manifesto would say that they would, if they were in power, which we know it's not going to happen in any way, shape or form, but if they would introduce a 1% increase on millionaires and a 2% increase on billionaires for their taxes. That being said, obviously, it's not a lot of money, but it still could raise a huge amount of resource and money needed for public services, healthcare, etc., etc. Now, one of the things that Labour have always stressed about is trying to manage the budget, balance the books sort of thing. But I can't at the moment be seen to myself that I don't see how Labour can fix many of the problems that this country is in without them putting their hands in their pockets or be willing to raise some kind of taxes, or because something has to give if Labour want to remain in power. Something has to give. And one of the things I think they have been doing is been trying to be very, very quiet about what they really intend to do when they come into power, because even though they have published their manifesto and I have read it thoroughly, it is still quite vague about what there is still a bit of vagueness about what Labour really intend to do. And we have seen that, for example, after their manifesto has been launched, for example, that they will review like voter ID, the voter ID law. They will review it. Didn't say they would scrap it. They said they will review it, for example. So there's a lot of ifs and buts and whats about Labour. And the thing is that they can afford to be, because they have the most MRP polls. Most people are predicting a Labour majority. Some predicting a super Labour majority. So they kind of have free reign to do what they want. But they also know that free reign will come at a great price if they don't deliver something within their first time in Parliament. It's as simple as that. They know that people are lending their votes to them, and they know if they want to hold on to those voters, they know they have to deliver first time in government, or you could end up potentially with a Conservative part of government returning, or even a Reform, or some kind of coalition with Reform and Conservatives in power of some sort. Could have something completely different. Obviously, we don't know what the outcome of the election will be, but this is something, obviously, that will definitely be in the back of the minds of people with inside Labour. So, an interesting point there. So, obviously saying they're going to make changes potentially to inheritance tax and capital gains tax there. I do think there needs to be some tweaking within the tax system. I do think that too many of the rich and the wealthy, there are too many loopholes for many of them in some of these taxes where they're able to get away without paying for some taxes in the UK, or none at all with that. So I think that's something that Labour needs to close the gaps on. And there is a article from the Financial Times stating that that a couple of, I can bring it up here actually, where wealthy foreigners are setting up their plans to leave the UK as tax increases. Plans by both main political parties to abolish a non-dom regime prompting departure. Now, I don't know how true that is, but I do think the fact that that's coming from the Financial Times should raise some eyebrows about how some may leave. I don't personally think it's going to affect. I don't think too many millionaires and billionaires are going to leave. Many of them have made huge amounts of money here in the UK, and many of them will continue to make amounts of money long after a Conservative government is gone. So I don't really buy into that. But I will say to take it with a pinch of salt as well on that. But let's read a bit more into what the Guardian has uncovered here. So the Labour Party has been drawing up options for how it could raise money through extra wealth taxes to help rebuild Britain's public service if it wins the general election, according to sources who have spoken to The Guardian. The proposal for under consideration includes increasing in capital gains tax, that's a CGT, first revealed by The Guardian 2 weeks ago, that could raise £8 billion. Another option under discussion would lead to significant changes to inheritance tax. The measure would make it more difficult to gift money and assets, such as farmland tax-free, together with CTG increases that could raise up to £10 billion in revenue, according to just one document seen by The Guardian. And a senior Labour source said, "We are starting from ground zero for our public service and infrastructure. We have to show that we are serious about borrowing and raising revenue from taxes if investors are going to walk in step with us. These measures are part of unlocking wealth and putting it to work." Their manifesto is about building foundations and starting from scratch. A lot of what their manifesto, Labour's manifesto, is about building foundations, building structure, and starting from the bottom, and how they would build things from scratch. Because we are fully, I think that nobody is under no illusions that Britain is broken, and you could try, but some things just need to be started from scratch. And I think that's why Labour's manifesto is about building from scratch. But the problem is that as well, that a lot of the British public will be very impatient and will want changes done straight away. Many people are probably watching this and that will be understanding that things take time to change for the better or worse. Things are going to take time, but some people just don't have that patience, just don't have the time. Some people who are really, really struggling to make ends meet can't wait. So I would say whatever Labour does, they're always going to they're going to upset people whichever way they do things. But I say that about any political party, to be fair. A second senior party source had said, "We have to show we are credible when it comes to transforming the party. Physical credibility means reforming tax as well as prudent borrowing. Before making any decisions, Labour intends to present a range of options to the Office of Budget Responsibility, OBR, for analysis, after gathering costings on individual measures from HM Revenue and Customs, that's HMRC. Labour has been under pressure to explain how it funds its plans for government, and sources admit there is frustration among some senior members of the party about the cautious approach it has taken during the election campaign. So far, it has said it will not raise income tax, national insurance or VAT, and it has ruled out applying CTG to primary residents. It denied that it has arrived at any final decisions over any other measures. I would say that Labour are trying to keep their options open as much as they possibly can, I would say. But they are ruling out these three taxes means, well, you're going to have to get the money from somewhere. A Labour spokesperson has said, "Keir and Rachel made it clear that our priority is to growing the economy, not increasing taxes. We have set out fully costed, fully funded plans with very specific tax loopholes that we would close. Nothing in our plans require any additional tax to be increased." In an interview with The Guardian this week, the Shadow Chancellor denied that there were any plans for renewed raising in the budget due this autumn. Rachel Reeves said she was focusing on extra drive growth rather than tinkering around with taxes. So this is the manifesto comparisons there between the Conservatives and Labour. I have covered both manifestos I think it's very important to say that I have covered both manifestos with the exception of Plaid Cymru and the SNP within a separate videos. So if you want to check them out, you're more than welcome to do so. But if you want to pause and have a look at these tax and economies manifesto comparisons, you're more than welcome to do so. However, sources have made it clear that work is already underway to scope new ways of raising money if Keir Starmer becomes the Prime Minister. They said that a series of draft documents and experts' analysis have been worked on throughout the election campaign and circulated among senior officials and shadow ministers. One Labour memo seen by The Guardian was a briefing note that estimated the increases to rate of CGT alone could generate £8 billion for the Treasury in the long term. There are also proposals to overhaul inheritance tax, with plans for a consultation that could launch in autumn. These could include radical changes such as scrapping or updating the rules on agricultural land and business relief. HMRC could be instructed to prepare figures on a range of options next month, sources said. They would then go to the OBR, which would need 10 weeks to crunch the numbers and share its findings with the Treasury. The preparation work suggests the budget could come in early October and as soon as party conferences are complete. Under the CTG's regime, profits from the sales of second homes or shares in businesses are taxed at a much lower rate than wages. Some senior figures believe that being more open about plans to range wealth taxes to transform public services would improve turnout among traditional Tory Labour voters. The tax options under consideration come amid growing criticism from experts about a conspiracy of silence about how the two main parties will afford to fund public services. That is something there. I mean, we can't take the Conservatives seriously anyway. We're all in agreement on that. But yeah, the silence from Labour has definitely been something that many people have been very critical about. The Institute for Physical Studies, the IFS, says Labour and the Conservatives have not been clear about how they plan to address the very tight physical situation facing the next government. The inheritance tax option is being looked at involving changes in the rules for the tax on agricultural land and other family business, with industry experts regarded as very significant. At present, a person can claim up to 100% of relief on the inheritance of agricultural land if it is being actively farmed. That has led to concerns that farmland is being snapped up by wealthy people keen to avoid inheritance taxes, and this is driving up prices and shutting out small businesses and farmers. Some in Labour want to scrap this as well as business relief, which allows a person to pass on a company or shares if it is unlisted with 100% tax relief. Plans are being considered to contain a sliding scale of options to weigh up the likely gain for the Exchequer, including capping the benefits from agricultural and business relief at £500,000 for each person, rather than scrapping it. In some instances, both forms of relief could be claimed, for allowing a cap on £1 million for each person in effect. This would raise about $2.3 billion by 2029-2030, which would at the end of the OBR's forecast period if it was introduced in March next year, according to a paper published by the IFS in 2023. The same figure appears in one of the internal Labour documents seen by The Guardian. Sources said wider changes were also being considered on gifts and inheritance tax. Currently, no inheritance tax is due on gifts if they are made by a person who lives more than 7 years after the gifts have been made. This is certainly a lot of food for thought about what kind of taxes potentially that could or couldn't be introduced. It's a lot of talk, but it's not really a lot of concrete answers about what Labour will do. I would go as far to say a lot of it is speculation, and speculation at best, I would say, from what people inside. There are lots of questions about what exactly they are going to do in terms of taxes. I do think there are going to be some taxes raised somewhere. The question is, obviously, we don't know where. We know the taxes that they've ruled out. We don't know about the rest of the taxes. Income tax, national insurance, and VAT have all been ruled out, but all the other taxes have not. So that doesn't mean that they're going to raise them, but it just simply means that they're going to have those options available if they want to use them. And I think that's a very important point to add to that when it comes to the economics of what Labour intends to do, because they do need to raise some money somewhere to help get a lot of things back on its feet, or at least start to get a lot of things back on its feet. Lots of businesses, lots of sectors, public services, so many more things need help, and let's hope that Labour's ideas actually benefit people. But the clock will no doubt be ticking very fast on them the moment they step foot into number 10. But what do you guys honestly think? What do you make of this unlocking funds for public service? What do you think about the possibility of some kind of wealth taxes? What do you guys think that they are saying here? Do you think there's anything to read here? Or do you just not trust Labour at all? Or you have skepticism about them, which I do as well. Let me know your thoughts and more in the comment section down below. If you found this video informative, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share this across social media so others are notified of this video. And subscribe, because it does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p. Or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope to catch you all very, very soon.